Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to learn about Python control structures, more specifically the if statement. But before that, if you are new to my channel, please subscribe to it and hit the bell icon so that you remain updated about the latest videos and content. So let us now understand the various type of control structures available in Python. Python allows me two types. One is the conditional construct, other are the loops. Conditional construct, they are covered under if statement, and the loops, they have for and while loop. Before we begin with the if statement, let us recollect the relational operators. These operators, they are used to form a condition that results in either a true or a false result. Like you may be checking for a variable's value a double equal to 5. Remember, double equal to need to check for the equality of a variable. Please do not misunderstand it with a single equal to. A single equal to is assignment operator. When you need to check for equality, it is double equal to. Then we have the not equal to operator, which is written with an exclamation sign and a equal to sign. Then you have the regular greater than, less than, greater than equal to, and not equal, less than equal to. Next, we also have some logical operators that can be used to form different conditions. Whenever we need to combine different conditions, maybe two or more, in that case we are using the logical operators. The first logical operator is the AND operator. This operator would result in a true result if all the relational expressions, or you can say if all the conditions, they are true. Otherwise, it will result into a false. Let us understand this with the truth table. Let us say I have a condition 1 and then I have the second condition. Let's take an example. Condition 1, let's say a greater than b, and condition 2, let us say a greater than c. These are my variables a, b and c. Okay, so when my first condition is true as well as the second condition is true, I am talking about the AND operator, children. So in that case, the entire condition would result into a true. If my first condition is true but the second condition is false, using AND operator I'll get false result. If the first one is false, second one is true, that would also result in false. If both the conditions are false, very obviously this will give me a false result. Talking about the OR operator. This operator, when I'm combining conditions, it would result into a result as true if any one of the given expressions, if any one of the given conditions is true. Otherwise, it will result into a false. Let us understand the truth table for this. If my first condition is true, the second is also true, I would get the result as true. If the first one is true but the second one is false, in case of OR operator, this will give me a true result. Similarly, if the first one is false, the second one is true, that would also give me a true. If only when both the conditions they are false, then only the OR operator is going to give me the false result for the entire condition or the expression. Talking about the NOT operator, this results into a negation. So if my given condition is true, it would make the condition as false. It will result into false if the initial given expression is true. The truth table is simple. We only have one condition. If the given condition is true, NOT operator will make it false. If the given condition is false, the NOT operator is going to make it true. These are the various types of if statement. We have a simple if statement. Then we have if else. We also have a if else ladder, and we have nested ifs. We are going to talk about each of these in detail. Let us first try to understand the if statement. The if statement is tested against an expression, and if the given expression results into a true, in that case the statements written after if, they are executed. If the given expression is not true, if it gives me a false, in that case these statements are skipped over and the control will directly move to the next statement following the if. We need to understand here, children, that the statement 1 and statement 2, or maybe more statements if they are written after if, they have to follow a certain indentation. Indentation means the leading spaces given at the beginning of every statement. Another thing to note, you need to give a colon sign after the expression. This is a part of syntax. If you are missing out on this, Python will return you an error. The statement n is anyway executed if the expression is true or false. If it is true, then statement n is executed after 1 and 2. If it is false, it is directly executed by not executing statement 1 and 2. So I'm talking about the indentation here again. This refers to the spaces, the white space at the beginning of any programming statement, right? Python follows very strict levels of indentation. The same level of indentation, this indicates that the statements are grouped into a single logical block. So the Python interpreter is going to check the indentation, and it will immediately raise an error, a syntax error, if the indentation is not followed. Generally, we leave a single tab for each level of indentation. We'll see this in the coming examples, don't worry. So let us see the first question, first example. You need to write a Python script to find if a person is eligible to apply for scholarship or not. So this is my program. Int input, enter your age. Then I am checking that age variable. I'll say if age greater than 15, I print you are eligible to apply for scholarship. And then I print thank you. So we will test this program now on Python itself. Let me show it to you. I have already written this program, so I'll be demonstrating the same to you. This is my program. Input enter age. If n greater than 15, equal to 15, then also you are eligible to apply for scholarship. And then end of if statement, or you can say the thank you statement, which means the end of if statement. Running this module, it is asking me for the input of age. Let us say I give the age as 21. So the program gives me you are eligible to apply for scholarship. If I rerun the program one more time, enter your age, let us say 12. So this does not execute the print statement over here, and it directly comes to the end of if statement. I hope this is clear. Now we have another program that displays the absolute value of a given number. So absolute value is a mathematical concept which means printing the positive number in case the number is negative, right? So my program says int input enter a number. If the number is less than 0, this is my condition, followed by colons, I'll say print absolute number equal to, here I am using the ABS function. It is an inbuilt function in Python which returns me the absolute value. Please remember, this print statement is not going to execute if the number is greater than 0, or maybe if it is even equal to 0. Seeing that again on Python prompt, let me open that program. So I have the absolute value checking. So my program says input a number. If the number is less than 0, I am printing the absolute value, the same thing. And if the number is greater than 0, then I'm not doing anything over here. This is a simple if statement. It is asking me for the number. Let us say if I give the number as -5, it gives me absolute number equal to 5. Let us also see when the number is greater than 5. If my input is 5, I get the output nothing, because the number was already greater than 5. So that meant the print statement, the calling of absolute function, this is not supposed to be executed, and the program comes to a termination. Moving ahead, we also have a if else statement. This is one more variation of if only. So this statement, we have a else part, or we can say the else clause along with the if. I begin with the if followed by expression followed by the colon sign. If this expression results into a true, in that case statement 1 and 2 are executed. In case the expression is false, the control directly jumps over to the else part, skipping over both these statements, and then statement number 3 and statement number 4, they are executed. Finally, if you have any other statements written at same indentation level as if, children, this is outside the if. This has nothing to do whether the result is true or false. This has to be executed in both the cases, right? So after that, the statement N will be executed. Let us again see the same scholarship program. I am inputting the age, but this time if age is greater than equal to 15, I say you can apply. Otherwise, I also give the message you cannot apply. Let us see this again in Python. So I'll open my program. If condition, I have named it by if else for scholarship. Okay, so let me open this program. The program says input the age variable and print whether the person is eligible to apply for scholarship or not. So here I am taking input for my variable age into the variable N. This is my variable name N. Now again, if I check the value of variable N, if that is greater than or equal to 15, I give the message you can apply. In case the value is not greater, this result into a false. I'll come to the else statement and the program will print you cannot apply. And finally the thank you statement. Let us try executing the same. Must be saved. Okay, I made a small change. So it is asking me enter your age. My age, let us say I put it as 37. So it says you can apply for the scholarship and thank you message. Next, if I again rerun the program with some other variables, with some other value, I'm running the module again. Enter your age. Again, the prompt is waiting here. Let us say I put the age as 16 this time. So it says you cannot apply. I am sorry. I think this is some typo. If N is greater than equal to 15. Okay, alright. Yes, the age was 16. I am sorry. I just mistook it for 18. So let's run it again with some smaller value. So it is asking me for a fresh input. Let me give the input this time as 14. So now it says you cannot apply for the scholarship, and finally the thank you message. I hope, children, these simple programs are easily understood. Let us move ahead. So next I write a Python program to check whether a given number is even or odd. This is again a very common, a very frequently asked question. I simply need to take the input using the int input statement. Then I check my number for divisibility by using the modulus operator. Modulus operator, remember, it was giving me the remainder. So if I divide the number by 2 and then I find the remainder as 0, I can say it is an even number. If my remainder is not 0, in that case I would say it is an odd number. Let us test the program. So here I go. I'll find my required program. I have it as if even. Yes. So here I will check. This is the same program as I have displayed you on the PPT. Let us try to run this. Okay, this one, no, let's close this one. This was the program for even and odd. Executing the same, run module F5. It is asking for the number. Let us say my number is 40. This would result into an even number. Again executing. If I say run module again, let's me try giving the number as 25 this time. It says 25 is an odd number. Just placing them side by side so that you can see the program as well as the output. I hope it is clear to everyone. In the next program, I want to find if the year entered by user is a leap year or not. So here children, my first statement goes the input for year. As the value will be a numeric, I am taking it to be an integer. Now, if I want to check the variable that has been given by the user, the value for a leap year, I know that the years which are divisible by 4, they are considered as leap year. But children, you need to understand that there are more conditions to a leap year than this one. If the year is divisible by 4, at the same time, it is taken that the year should not be divisible by 100. So I put my second condition as year percentage 100 not equal to 0. Because both of these conditions should be true, then only the year will be labeled as a leap year. So I join them using the logical AND operator. This is my first condition. Now the second condition says either the first group. That means if this is true, or the case can be if the year is a century year, in that case if it is divisible by 400, then also we call it a leap year. For instance, years 1900, 1600, 1700, not 16, I'm sorry, 1700, 1800, 1900, although they are divisible by 4, but they are not divisible by 400, so they will not be labeled as a leap year. So talking about this, let us see this in the same program. I have this program written. If I try to execute, I get this as my output window. So it is asking me for the input of year. Let us say I given any simple value like 2020. This we know was a leap year because it is divisible by 4 and it is not divisible by 100. Right? Rerunning the program with some other values. Children, in case of if-else programs, it is always suggested that you run your program with multiple input data so that you can check each and every condition. Right? So here I am giving a century year which is divisible by 400. This also gives me a leap year. Now let us take one more value which is divisible by 4, but it is not divisible by 100. It should not be divisible by 100. So when I'm running this, let's say I give the year as 1900. So this children, 1900 is divisible by 4, but at the same time it is divisible by 100 as well. So the second condition, year percentage 100 not equal to 0, this condition is false. One is true, other is false, and I'm joining them using a AND. So that makes it a false. I hope you get it clear now. Children, one more thing. When we are doing the combination of this AND, OR and NOT, there is a precedence to this. The AND operator always have a high priority than the OR operator. So that is the reason why I have not put these conditions inside the brackets. Some other programmers, they might take it that the conditions joined using AND, they should be given in a bracket. But then it works like this in Python. So now we move on to the third variation of the if-else statement, that is if-elif ladder. We call it ladder because there can be multiple steps to it. The syntax goes as if my keyword, I write the first condition followed by colons, and beneath that, underneath that, I will write the set of statements that I want to be executed if the given condition is true. But if the given condition, expression 1, is not true, if that evaluates to false, in that case the program, the control, jumps over to the elif part, skipping over the statements in between. it will check for the second expression, because along with the else I have written another expression. So elif is basically a short form for else if. If the first condition is false, I come to the else part. Inside the else part, I want to check for the second condition. If the second condition is also false, I move to the else part. Again, I want to check for the third condition. So this way, the ladder continues. Finally, you may have a final else statement which will be executed when all the above conditions, when all the above given expressions, they evaluate to false. In that case, the statements written under the final else, they are going to be executed. Statement N, anyhow, is outside the if block, right? So it will be executed at the last. Let us see this again with an example. Here in this program, I want to find out if the number is a positive, negative or a 0. So I take a integer input, numeric input in the variable number. I want to check if that number is greater than 0. I print message it is positive. If my number is less than 0, I'll give the message it is a negative number. Finally, if it is neither greater nor less than 0, I can say yes, it is equal to 0. So I need not check the condition if number double equal to 0 again, because this is implied. If it is neither greater nor less, in that case it should be only equal to 0, right? One more program. With this, I want to check the grade of a student. I want to calculate the grade of a student on the basis of marks entered by the user. I want to enter the total marks. From that total, percentage will be evaluated. If the percentage is greater than or equal to 90, I want the grade to be A. If the percentage is lesser than 90, in that case, I have further subdivisions. I'll again check if percentage is greater than 80. At the same time, it is less than 90. I want the grade to be assigned as B. Children, in this case, we need to take care if I am checking in the else part only. This automatically implies that the percentage is less than 90. So here, I may or I may not write this AND part because this is automatically implied. Some programmers, they prefer it without the AND part. This is my personal choice as well. So next I write elif percentage greater than 70, grade is C. Elif percentage greater than 60, percentage is D. I have written this approach so as to make you understand as per the question given. Because according to the questions, many think if I am checking greater than 90, I should also check less than 90. I'm sorry. If I am checking greater than equal to 80, I should also check less than 90. But then you may skip that because it automatically is in the else part. Right? Let us see the practical run through. This is my program for grade calculation. This is the same program. I'm taking the integer input. Whatever is the input, Python takes it as a string. I want to convert it to integer, and that is why the int function. My variable for number is total. I am calculating the percentage by dividing by 500 and then multiplying by 100, assuming that all the marks, they are from 100 each. Finally, I put all the conditions if m greater than 90 as per the question. I'll say grade equal to A. This is a variable which is being assigned value on the basis of different conditions. So very obviously, out of all these multiple conditions, any one of them can be true. And at any point, if one is true, then automatically the control comes to the next statement after the if block, that is this print statement. Students, you need to take care that the if elif ladder, all the conditions that are given, they are mutually exclusive. This means if one is true, other cannot be true. Right? Let us see the run through. When I run the module, enter total marks. Let's say 490. 490. The grade is A. I'll take one more time. Enter total marks again. Let us say 400. 400 will give me grade as C, because this corresponds to out of 500. If you see the percentage, this would be 80%, right? And I have given greater than 80. Rather, I should make it greater than equal to 80 as per the logic of the question. Then it would be okay. So if I run it again, for my marks 400, now the grade is B, right? Let's move to the next question. In this question, I want to calculate the income tax. This is one more question of if LF ladder. Please try to understand the different criterias very carefully, and then you will be very easily able to write the program. So I want to calculate the income tax, which accepts the taxable income and calculates the tax as per the given slabs. So there are various slabs which says 0 to 3 lakh there is no tax. Then from 3 to 5 lakh the tax will be evaluated at 5%. From 5 to 10 lakh it will be at the rate of 20%. Above 10 lakh by 30%. Over and above this tax, there is also an educational cess which needs to be calculated as 3% of the income tax. So the total tax payable by a person, that becomes income tax plus the educational tax. Now for this question, for this program, I need to understand that what all should be my input. The input obviously should be the taxable income. So this is my first statement. I take the input into a variable taxable income. Next, I need to check under which category the income which has been given by the user, under which category is this falling. So if I check if taxable income is less than equal to 3 lakhs, I simply write income tax as my variable equal to 0. Elif. If this is not true, that means income is greater than 3 lakh. In that case, I check if income is less than equal to 5 lakh. So this forms my second category from 3 to 5 lakh. So in that case, I'll say income tax equal to 0, which remains for the initial 3 lakh, and then 0.05 rather, because this is 5%, right? 5 upon 100 will give you 0.05, not 0.5. 0.5 will make it 50%. That will be too much of a tax. So I'll multiply this 5% into the entire income minus 3 lakh. You need to be very careful about this, children. The tax will not be applicable on the entire income because the first 3 lakhs, they are rebatable. There is no tax on that. So my next category is when the taxable income is between 5 lakhs and 10 lakhs. So next LF condition, when taxable income less than equal to 10 lakh. Children, under this category, please be very careful. The tax is being calculated under 3 heads separately and then we add them together. First 3 lakh, there is no tax. So I write 0. Next, 3 to 5 lakh, that is the difference of 2 lakhs, right? This is calculated at the rate of 5%. So I write 2 lakhs into 0.05. Finally, whatever is the income above 5 lakh and up to 10 lakh. So let us say if the income is 7 lakhs. 7 lakh will be divided into 3 heads as first 3 lakh, no tax. Then 3 to 5 lakhs, 2 lakhs with the 5%. And next 2 lakhs, 5 to 7 lakhs, they will be calculated at 20% tax rate. So I have this 3 different calculations and then I add them up together. Finally, if the taxable income is even above 10 lakhs, anything above 10 lakhs, so that will be calculated as 4 different heads. First 3 lakh, 3 to 5 lakh, 5 to 10 lakh at 20%, and then finally whatever is the final income minus 10 lakh multiplied by 0.3, or you can say 30%. This will give me the overall income tax. Educational cess is a flat calculation, 3%. So I'll write 0.03 into the income tax that has been calculated. Next, I do the total tax calculation, which is income tax plus the educational cess. And finally, I display all the three values, that is income tax, educational cess, and the total tax to be paid. I hope this is clear. Let's move on to one more program. This program, I want to input the month name as 3 characters and then display number of days for that particular given month. So I'll input the month in 3 characters. For this, I will use a simple input statement. Remember, I am not converting it to int input because this time my input will not be numeric. My input is not integer type in nature. I need a string. And input function, it returns me a string only. That is why I'm using no conversion function before the input. For the month, my variable is m. Next, I take the year. Year obviously will be a numeric value. I take int input, converting it to integer. So then I check if the month that has been input by user, if that is equal to January, first 3 initials JAN, or the month equal to JAN in small letters. In that case, I say D equals to 31. D is my variable to store the total number of days as per the month. The next category, if month is not January, it possibly could be February. So I write elif m equal to Feb capitals or Feb in small letters. In that case, if the month is February, I again need to calculate. I need to check if it is a leap year. If it is a leap year, again the same 3 conditions that we have discussed previously. My number of days will be 29. Otherwise, I would simply say number of days as 28. The next category, if month is March, I say number of days as 31. If month is April, using the different or conditions, children, I am trying to take care of the various cases, whether it can be uppercase or it can be lowercase, or it may also be as first letter as capital or rest others as small. So accordingly, you can also increase or decrease the conditions. For April it is 30 days, for May 31, for July 30, and so on. Finally, after evaluating the applicable condition, the month variable will obviously be having any one of the given values. So whatever condition is applied, accordingly the number of days will be calculated. Finally, I print the number of days as a data, as the output of my program. The same program I have tried to give using a different approach. Taking the input for month and year, I calculate the number of days as 31 for all the months January, March, May, July, August, October and December. I have clubbed all these conditions under one if condition using the logical operator OR. So I have clubbed all these conditions together, whether month is March or month is May or month is July, right? Similarly, I have also clubbed all the different conditions for the 30-day months, that is April, June, September, November. See, I am checking for equality here with a double equal to sign. Children, you need to be particular about taking care of this. The month of February, again the same way, checking with the leap year, accordingly number of days as 29 or 28, and finally you print the output as number of days. Let's see this practically as well. So this is my program for calculating the number of days. I should be removing that comment. So when I run the program, it says enter the month name in 3 characters. Let me say I put January, JAN. Enter the year, any year would do, 2021. So it gives me number of days as 31. Trying one more time. If I say enter the month name in 3 characters, Let me put it February this time. Enter the year, let's say 2021, which is not a leap year. So it gives me number of days as 28. Again, number of days, month name, sorry, February. Enter the year, let me say 2020. This being a leap year, this gives me number of days as 29. So accordingly, I can test for other conditions as well. Moving ahead, we come to the last variation of if statement, and that is the nested if statement. Children, nested if is a situation, nested if is a condition or a construct, you can say, wherein we have a if elif else statement inside the another if elif else statement. This is called nesting, right? Nesting will be evaluated as, first of all, the expression 1 is checked. If this turns out to be true, in that case only the second expression is going to be checked for truth or false. If the first expression is false itself, in that case I move to the else part. The second condition, the second expression is not tested at all, right? So inside this else part, I again have one more condition to check. I will go for checking of expression 3. If this expression also results to be a true, statements written in this block, they will be executed. If the first expression is false but the second one is also false, in that case I come to this block and I execute the statements written over here. Children, for nested if also, you may have an if expression 1 followed by if expression 2 inside the true block, or maybe inside the false block. This may be either, or this may be both. That depends on the requirement of my question. Let us see one of the programs using nested if. Here I want to print the largest of 3 numbers given as an input by the user. So first of all, I need to take the input. Because I am dealing with numbers, I am converting the input into a integer. So I write int input statement and I take 3 variables, num1, num2 and num3. So now I go with the final checking, the processing. I write my condition if num1 is greater than num2. In that case, num2 is out of question because num1 is greater. Now the largest number can either be num1 or it can be num3. So I go on testing for the other condition. I check if num1 is greater than num3. If that also is true, I can very easily say that my largest number is the first number. But if num1 greater than num2 and num1 is not greater than num3, in that case, children, it is implied that my largest number is the third number. What is going to happen if num1 itself is not greater? The num2 is greater. In that case, I move to the else part. Now I need to have a comparison between the second and the third number. So I write my next if condition, the nested if one. Children, please take care of the indentation as well. If this is the outer if, the inner if statement is written at one tab space, and the statements belonging to the nested if part, they will be further one more tab space after the if or the else. So we were talking about if num2 is greater than num3, I'll write my second number is the largest, large equal to num2. Otherwise, I can say large equal to num3. Let's test that as well using the program. So this is my program. It says minimum of 3 numbers. So here I have checked. No, I think rest of the program is talking about maximum only. So I'll just change this one and I'll change the comments as well. Save it and then start with the execution. So this gives me a syntax. Can any one of you point out here? I have missed out on the colons. Very good. So let me put the colons again, save, and finally the execution. It is asking me for the first number. Let me say 12. The second number, because this is because of the copy paste, 20 and 24. So this gives me 24 as the maximum. Let me just make a correction over here. This should be second and this should be the third. This time the third number was maximum. Let us see one more time. If I give my first number, as let us say 45, the second number as 42 and the third number as 40. So this again, just try to connect with the statements. Num1 greater than num2. Yes, it is. Num1 greater than num3. Yes, that is also the condition. So that means the print statement over here is finally executed. And after that, we come to the end of if block. So any statements written after this, they will be executed. So these are some practice questions. I hope you all are going to practice so that we get better with the programming every day. Children, you need to practice a lot for each and every concept that you have learned. That is how you are going to gain the confidence. Practice is the only key to success, whether it is any subject, whether it is any field that you are working in. I hope you were able to clear through the concepts of if construct in the Python programming. Thank you very much.